On October 15, 1994, the Auburn Tigers were not supposed to win. They were meeting the #1 ranked Florida Gators at the Swamp in Gainesville. No SEC team had ever beaten a Steve Spurrier-coached team at Florida Field. And the Gators had revenge on their minds, having lost to Auburn the year before at Jordan-Hare Stadium. But the Tigers had the ability, the confidence, and perhaps the audacity to pull off the upset. It was the matchup of the year in the SEC and one of Auburn's greatest games. The Auburn Tigers. Their heroics are legendary.
Deep formation handed off to Bob James, the left halfback. James breaks to the outside.
Fredrickson gets the block, goes to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Tucker Fredrickson. And here's Sullivan faking to Henley. Sullivan's going to go very long for Beasley. He's there. Touchdown, Auburn. Auburn going after it. Here's a good snap. It is blocked. It is blocked. It's caught on the run. It's caught on the run. He's going to score. David Wagner. David Wagner has scored, and Auburn has tied the game. Nix is going to float one for Sanders. Sanders, oh, he caught it at the 2, and he dived in. Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Oh, my goodness!
After more than a century of highlights, championships, and breathtaking victories, still some games stand out above the rest. These are Auburn's greatest games.
Some say it was the greatest game of the entire 1994 college football season. You certainly want to get an argument from Auburn fans on that. I'm Phil Snow, here with Auburn Athletic Director and historian David Housel. David, as I recall, Florida was ranked #1 in the country, Auburn ranked #4, yet Auburn a decided underdog, and probably going to Gainesville with most of their fans feeling that they would not win.
Phil, I don't believe anyone really thought Auburn would win the game except the most important people of all, the coaches and the players, and particularly the players. Florida had never lost an SEC game in Florida Field, the Swamp as they called it then, and they scored 73 points on Kentucky at Gainesville. They beat Tennessee 31-0 in Knoxville. So it was almost a case of the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. Unfortunately, our defense had not really been an immovable object at that point in the season, but nobody believed except the most important people.
What were your recollections as the team arrived at Florida Field?
I don't believe I've ever had a greater feeling of oneness between Auburn people and the Auburn football team than at Florida Field that day.
It was a road Tiger Walk, wasn't it?
It was a road Tiger Walk and had the intensity. And because of the space limitations, the buses unloading right there at the gate, it almost had the feeling of the size of a Tiger Walk in Auburn. Not just any Tiger Walk in Auburn, but an Alabama Tiger Walk, a Florida Tiger Walk, a Georgia Tiger Walk, or a Tennessee Tiger Walk. If we were going to go marching into the Swamp, we had our people there.
And it took every one of them. Let's take you back now to October 15th, 1994, Auburn, Florida, one of Auburn's greatest games.
Coming out of the locker room, it was obvious that the Tigers had no fear of the Gators. They shut down Florida on its first series of downs. But Auburn soon faced its own test of character. 3rd and 11 from the 31.
Florida with 5 men up at the front line. There's the deep snap to Nix. Fires over the middle. A pass is caught on a beautiful catch for a first down up at the 48-yard line by Thomas Bailey. Diving grab for 17 yards and an Auburn first down, the first by either team in the ball game.
On 2nd and 12, the Tigers again looked across the middle. Patrick Nix hit tight end Andy Fuller for 20 yards and another first down. It would only be the first of many big plays from the tight end this day.
After having 5 or 6 game of tendencies where we don't show we're going to throw them, we have no tendency to throw the tight end, the defense begins to let that player alone. They ignore his potential as a receiver. So in a game like Florida, where we had to look at all of our tendencies, we had to find some way to find some openings, some yardage gainers that they would not expect. What a perfect situation to now go to our tight end. So as soon as we had some play action or the run was faked, the tight end came open in the middle or the tight end came open over the top. What was interesting, though, after a couple of times, we assumed that they would cover that and we would have to go back outside or run the football. But over and over again, Andy Fuller was open for the pass. Not only was he open, he made the catch and some outstanding runs.
2 plays later, Nix went for it all.
Nix out of the shotgun. Is going to fake the inside handoff, roll to his right, and throw in the end zone for Bailey. Bailey, did he get it? He got it! Touchdown, Auburn! 32-yard pass play. Nix to Bailey. He was in double coverage. Hanks and Kennedy all over him, but he came down with the football. Auburn's on the scoreboard at 10:38 in the first period.
The Tigers led 7-0 in front of a stunned Florida crowd. But things would get even worse for the Gators. On 1st and 10, Terry Dean couldn't handle the snap, and Gary Walker came up with a loose ball. The Tigers were about to pounce again.
Florida in the 4-3, the deep snap to Nix out of the shotgun, takes a deep drop over the middle, wide open tight end 15. He's at the 10, dives down to the 8-yard line. That'll be another Auburn first down.
This time, however, the Gator defense held, and Auburn settled for a 19-yard Matt Hawkins field goal. The Tigers led 10-0, but it was still early. Auburn's defensive front would apply pressure to Terry Dean all day long. But on this drive, he would have the upper hand.
One setback for Florida. Dean wants to pass. He's going down the middle. Jackson's got the step. He'll take it for a touchdown.
Just that quickly, the Gators were right back in it. And the score would remain 10-7 the remainder of the first quarter.
David, it's important in a game like this to have some early success. Auburn did that, but you never feel comfortable with a quick strike team like the Gators.
No, you don't, Phil, but the success our offense had that particular day kept the Florida offense from getting untracked and getting those big numbers and the big point production totals that might lead to a runaway.
A seed of doubt may be planted in the
That's right, that's right. Pepper Rogers said one time that a team can't play mad for 60 minutes. A lot of people thought Florida would just take it from the get-go and just run us out of Florida Field. I think the first quarter showed that was not going to happen. And then once the emotions settle out, it comes down to preparation and taking advantage of the opportunities.
And we're going to see more of Andy Fuller as this game goes on. What a great guy he is, and probably the most memorable day of his football career.
He made many big plays that day, and he was big number 82 was reminiscent of some of those big plays Jeff Parks made in the 1982-83 run.
The tight end, always a factor in big games. Let's go back now to the second quarter of Auburn, Florida.
As the second quarter began, Auburn was on the march again.
There's a deep snap in the shotgun to Nix, and he drops it over the middle to Andy Fuller, the tight end, at midfield at the 45 to the Gator 40 and close to a first down at the 39.
On this drive, Stephen Davis began to make his presence felt. But it was the passing game that was making the big gains. This pass to Frank Sanders gained 12 yards to the Florida 19. On 4th and 1 at the 17, the Tigers turned to Davis again, who ran for good yardage. A holding penalty negated the gain. So once again, it was up to Matt Hawkins to put some points on the board. His 43-yard boot was good. Auburn led 13-7, but had squandered a golden opportunity for 6. Terry Dean and the Gators responded swiftly. First, Dean hit Aubrey Hill with a 25-yard completion. Then he countered with a 15-yard run by Fred Taylor. But as Florida neared the Auburn goal, the Tigers' defense tightened.
One running back for Dean. Dean wanting to throw, hit as he got it away. He fires, pass is intercepted at the goal line, and stepping out of bounds at the Auburn 1 is Brian Robinson.
While the interception killed the Gator advance, the Tigers found themselves penned against their own goal line. All they could manage against the tough Florida defense was to push the ball out a yard or two, making Terry Daniels' punt a very difficult task. Daniel managed to boot the ball across the 50, but a fine return gave Florida great field position. On 1st and 10 from the 31, Fred Taylor took a swing pass and carried it all the way to the Tigers' 13. Auburn's defense applied tremendous pressure up front and held the Gators in check temporarily. But finally, Terry Dean escaped for a gain of 18. On 4th and goal from the 4, a run by Jack Jackson caught Auburn off guard, and the Gators were in the end zone. In spite of Auburn's outstanding start, Florida now led 14-13. On Florida's next possession, the Auburn defense would again assert itself. Brian Robinson's second pick of the day put the offense back in business at the 43. 5 plays later, the Tigers were in the end zone.
High step. They're going to run the end around reverse to Sanders. Sanders with blockers ahead of him. Turns it upfield at the 25 to the 20 to the 15 to the 10. He's going to score. Touchdown! Auburn! 28 yards on the end around reverse. A beautiful call by the Auburn staff.
Auburn's two-point conversion failed, but the Tigers had retaken the lead 19-14. They would get one more scoring opportunity in the half, again thanks to the defense.
Dean's going to unload pass, intercepted. Chris Schelling at the Auburn 40, Schelling to the 45, down the far side, across the Florida 45 to the 40, down the sidelines to the 30, stepping out of bounds with a face mask call at the Gator 27-yard line.
Auburn had snared its third interception of the first half. Schelling's return gave Auburn a first down inside the 20. Matt Hawkins tacked on 3 more points to the Tigers' lead as the clock ran out on the first half. Another Florida gift had led to Auburn's surprising 22-14 lead.
So important on the road against the #1 team in the nation to go in with a halftime lead. I'm sure the dressing room was upbeat, but I recall Wayne Hall, David, saying that this was one of the best defensive efforts his team had had in a long time. To give up 33 points and still play well on defense speaks well of the other team, doesn't it?
You seldom stop a Steve Spurrier team, but you can slow them down. And I think, as we've just seen, time and time again, the Auburn defense came up with great plays. Great individual plays, great team plays, plays that gave the offense a chance to keep the ball, get some points, to keep the Florida offense off the field. All in all, it was just a great team effort for Auburn at Florida Field that day.
And definitely the seeds of doubt were sown by then for the Gators.
I think they knew that it was not going to be as easy as they might have thought, or that some of the national media might have thought. I think Auburn people talked about being believers that day, going to Florida Field. They believed in Auburn football. They believed in the 1994 team. They believed in Terry Bowden. Well, if they were believers going to Gainesville, they were true believers when they left Gainesville that afternoon. You know, Auburn had not beaten the #1 team in the nation since beating Georgia 27-13 in 1942.
Wow.
And this particular victory at Florida Field will certainly go down in history as one of Auburn's greatest games. People will be talking about this one 15, 20, 30 years from now. Here we are in 1994, they're still talking about a game that happened, 52 years ago? Mm-hmm. And 52 plus 1994, they'll still be talking about Auburn and Florida in 1994 at Florida Field.
Let's get back into the third quarter. The moment of truth comes for the Tigers because they have to play from behind for a change.
The third quarter began the same way the first half ended. On Florida's first possession, Terry Dean was victimized by the Auburn secondary.
Will he throw? He'll play fake, and he wants to air one out over the middle. Pass is intercepted by Auburn's Fred Smith. Intercepted by Smith at the 44, and he falls ahead of the 47-yard line.
Patrick Nix quickly found Thomas Bailey for a gain of 9. Stephen Davis then took the ball around the left side for 19 yards to the Florida 25. But the Tigers were stymied at that point. A Matt Hawkins field goal missed wide right, so the score remained 22-14. When the Gators took over, they had a new quarterback, Danny Werfel, and he came out firing. Five plays later, the Gators were celebrating in the end zone. With the score now 22-20, Auburn still led, but only by 2 points. An entire quarter remained in the contest, and you had the feeling that the game had just begun.
Auburn still holding to a slim lead, but as we all remember, the lead would go away, come back, go away, finally come back, David.
The most important thing is, Phil, it came back.
It came back.
And it came to stay forever. To understand what Auburn was really facing at Florida Field that day, I think you have to remember that Auburn had won in Gainesville only once in 22 years. Only once in 22 years. No SEC team had beaten Steve Spurrier at Florida Field in the Swamp. Coach Pat Dye said, and I believe every Auburn coach who has coached there said, that Florida Field is the toughest place in the Southeastern Conference to play. We like to think Jordan-Hare Stadium is pretty tough, and it is pretty tough. But Knoxville, LSU, Legion Field, you name it. In the fourth quarter, with the Gators in the game, because of the configuration of the stadium.
Especially since they have the new end zone.
The new end zones are real high. The noise just stays in. So every advantage was to Florida in the fourth quarter. Every advantage but one: heart and confidence and the belief in themselves.
Okay, strap on the seat belts and let's see the concluding quarter of Auburn, Florida, 1994.
Despite a pounding by the Auburn defense, Danny Werfel stood his ground and injected new life into the Florida offense. On the Gators' first possession of the fourth quarter, he struck pay dirt again.
Werfel looking to throw, has time. Wide open out in the flat at the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Will he score? Yes, touchdown for Ike Hilliard. He was absolutely wide open in that play, covering 17 yards.
For the first time in the game, Florida had the lead, 26-22. How would the Tigers respond to the pressure, the crowd, the deafening noise? They answered that question on the very next possession. Stephen Davis carried 15 yards for a first down. Thomas Bailey caught a pass for 12 yards and another first down. Then, Patrick Nix looked again for Andy Fuller.
Out of the shotgun. Nix in trouble, throws over the middle, wide open, tight end, 25. Breaking a tackle is Fuller at the 20 to the 15. He's down the far side to the 10 to the 5. He's going to go. He is in. Touchdown! Auburn! 30 yards as he broke the tackle of Anton Lott out at the 25-yard line.
The score now read 29-26 Auburn, with 8:45 remaining. It would seem like an eternity. Werfel and the Gators continued their assault. An effective mix of the run and the pass had the Tigers off balance.
And Werfel will throw. He has time, and he's going for broke, and Jackson's wide open in the end zone for the touchdown. And Chris Schelling is appealing that he was interfered with.
The touchdown pass made the score Florida 33, Auburn 29, with just over 5 minutes left in the game. The Tigers were now battling not only the Gators, but the crowd and the clock. The odds were not good, but the Tigers battled on.
Werfel's going to have time to throw, and he'll go long down the middle of the field. It's going to be Brian Robinson making the interception at the 35, breaking a tackle at the 40, and stepping out of bounds at the Auburn 45-yard line. Werfel throwing it down the middle of the field. Apparently a busted play for Florida, and Robinson has his third interception of the afternoon with a...
As the offensive unit went to work, it truly believed it would prevail.
The thing about it, Patrick came to me with like a minute or something to go in the game. He said, "Oh, when we get the ball back, we're going to go down and score. Look at me, Frank. We're going to go down and score." And he pulled my shoulder, and I said, I got you, Patrick. I understand. And we went on the field, got the ball back, went on the field, the lineman said, we're going to go down and score. Shannon Robeek, Victor Riley even was positive. And coming from him as a freshman, because he was so positive, believing that we was going to win, that kind of took a lot of pressure off everybody, and everybody had the confidence. So going on that thing, because everybody was poised and everybody was confident about winning, we just believed that we was going to win.
There was no doubt in any of our minds that, we were already talking that, okay, we're going to get the ball back, we've got to score a touchdown, we've got to move quickly, get to the ball, get on the line of scrimmage, get, if we got to get in the huddle, whatever. I was talking to Shannon, about it because he sort of controls the offensive line and their movements, and, and I was talking to him about it, and I was talking to the receivers, and, sort of giving them ideas of what we might do, and I'm talking to Coach Bowden about some things that we might do, and next thing we know, we get the interception there on third down and get the ball in good field position, and I think that, sort of gave us a little bit of a spark, because instead of standing on the sideline and waiting for them to punt and thinking about it and that kind of stuff, all of a sudden we were on the field playing, and we didn't have a chance to think about it or anything. It was time to react and to play, and I really believe that you play better when you just react and when you don't have to think, and I think that gave us a chance. And
despite the optimism, the Tigers threw 3 straight incompletions to bring up 4th down. Still, they weren't worried.
There seemed to be no doubt in Coach Bowden's voice and the other coach's voice, no doubt in the players' looks and in their voices that we were going to get the job done. And
with just 57 seconds left, the game rested on this one play. It was Nix to Bailey, and Auburn had 4 more downs. Then Nix dropped back again and found sophomore Willie Gaucher, who made the biggest catch of his career. The Tigers would need just one more play to make history.
Patrick came to the huddle. He called a Liz flip. Well, that's me and Thomas to the left, Liz flip 178 Mustang. And the flip is for the back, so he'll go to the other side, kind of make sure that everybody think that's the strong side of on our offense. So they come out, I go to the huddle, and I look, I'm checking to see if anybody else is a double coverage on me or not. I didn't recognize the blitz. Patrick did. I look up, there's Gilmore on me, number 35. I look back at Patrick to make sure that he sees what I see. And when he said hike, I just saw a touchdown.
It was just one of those things that, if you could draw it up, you wouldn't draw it up any differently. They came at us and blitzed us and went man-to-man against Frank, and we had a flag route called, and that's one of our better man routes. And Frank is by far the best man receiver to go up and catch a ball. And
2 wideouts to the right, 1 to the left. Florida's got the big rush on Nix. He floats one in the end zone. It is caught! Touchdown, Auburn! Sanders caught it! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Frank Sanders from Nix. Auburn's ahead! Auburn's ahead! Touchdown of 8 yards! Nix to Sanders. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
The Cardiac Tigers had done it again. The Nix to Sanders combination had produced another miracle. The Tigers defeated Florida 36-33. Number 1 was dethroned. The Auburn Tigers had the audacity to refuse to lose.
Hey, there's one thing, they call it luck. That's what we do it like this. We believe like this. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe.
Man, there are so many heroes. So many heroes. When you out there and every single one of you believes you got to do the thing that wins the game, and every say, if the world didn't believe it, You're number one today. I don't care what they say.
They had made us the biggest game in their history. The largest crowd ever to see a football game in the state of Florida were there. National TV audience. Everyone expecting Florida to go on and win a national championship. Auburn goes in there, and there is no fluke. There is no mistake. There is no weird transpiring of game. There was a game which Auburn and Florida played two great football games, and Auburn won the football game. That did something different than all those other games. That changed the attitude of America towards Auburn. I believe on that day we became a real national contender to everyone else, not just to Auburn.
No doubt one of Auburn's greatest games, and Coach Terry Bowden made a good point. It established Auburn as a national football power again.
I think Coach Bowden is exactly right. From October the 15th, 1994 on, the Auburn football program would be viewed in a different light by the national media. Auburn would be considered one of the premier programs in this country. When you go down to what seemed to be an undefeatable team, #1 team in the nation, scored 73 points against a member of the Southeastern Conference, beat Tennessee 31-0 in Knoxville. Auburn goes in, knocks off the #1 team in the nation on its home field. But never again would Auburn be considered anything but one of the nation's premier football programs. And Coach Bowden established himself as one of the nation's premier football coaches. They can say what they want to about the win over Florida in 1993. They can say what they want to about the 11-0 season in 1993. But the win over Florida, as Coach Bowden indicated, proved once and for all those good things were no fluke. And it's interesting that the signature photo for the 1993 and 1994 teams would be Frank Sanders going high in the air to pull down a pass from Patrick Nix.
A tremendous Auburn story of his maturity as a man and a football player.
You're
since
exactly
coming
right.
The celebration at Danley Field when the plane touched down was something to remember too, David.
Well, I don't think they were celebrating the plane touching down, Phil, as much as they were the victory over Florida. About 4,000 people out there, and the coaches did a wonderful thing. They stopped the buses and let the players go out and thank our people. I remember two things about that celebration. One was the intensity and the tears in the eyes of the Auburn people. The other thing was a thing that Patrick Nix did. There was a little boy in a wheelchair who held up a sign, "I love Patrick Nix, War Eagle." And Patrick worked his way through the throng and found the little boy and shook his hand and gave him an autograph. Auburn's win over Florida was truly a magnificent thing. Even the Alabama people got caught up in it. I also remember there were two people there, young people with Alabama jerseys on, number 54. And obviously that was Leroy Jordan's number at Alabama. And Leroy's relative, Scott Stacy, was a member of the Auburn team that beat Florida. And so that victory at Florida Field transcended the partisanship. It was a great football game, and everybody who appreciates a game of football will remember that day.
Thank you, David. And you join us next time for one of Auburn's greatest games.